Bambu has hit a home run with the recent launch of their new A1 Mini 3D printer and AMS Lite combo. This printer brings a whole new meaning to the one-button touch 3D printing. Hi, I'm Ken of Rist Innovations, and in this video I will cover setting up the printer's key features, my printer performance, and the pros and cons of this printer. Just to mention, I bought this printer with my own money, so let's get started. Wow, this is a tiny build plate. You don't really realize it until you see it in person. And again, kind of comparing the difference between the X1 Carbon versus the A1. It really puts it in perspective. These are the filament holders that will be mounted into the AMS Lite. Here we have a little accessory box. I'm actually really excited about this. This is a little color sample of all the different colors and the materials that Bambu makes. And this allows me to be able to really see what the actual colors look like, because sometimes it can be a little misleading on the website, but here you get to be able to see them firsthand. Here's one of the little surprise kits that come with the printer. In this case here, this looks like a little lamp that I'll be able to make. Okay, so here's the AMS Lite unit. Here's the main body. Here's the stand for the AMS Lite. Everything comes smaller with the A1, including the amount of filament that they provide. With the A1, the power cord is connected directly into the machine, so you have a limited length of a power cord. You probably will need an extension cord. Okay, when in doubt, follow the directions. So the first thing they want me to do is to remove this little structure here that's holding everything in place just for shipping purposes. So we need to remove this. Okay, so they are talking about tightening 3 screws that are underneath the build plate. Doesn't exactly say how much to tighten them, but this one's a little loose. Yeah, so we're looking at the back of the machine, and so here's our little slot here. So we're just going to slide that in there just like that. And we need to go grab a screw from our accessory box for a purge wiper. Okay, next we need the screws for the spool holder. So this just fits over here. Okay, so there's 4 screws for the AMS Lite stand. Alright, next it's time to add the spool holders, and these are color coded, so you can see this is the green and this matches the green here, so these just sort of snap in. Here's the yellow. There we go. Another green. There we go. Notice that they have this spring release here. The concept here is this will be able to feed the filament into the machine. However, the motors are not strong enough to be able to completely rewind the filament. So the concept is there'll be this little spring back. And so that will be enough to pull the filament up out of the head, just enough. Okay, so these are the PTFE tubes, and there's 2 different sizes. There is a 580 millimeters and 700 millimeters. These are the spool holder positions, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as far as the connections, it makes sense that the 2 longer tubes, the 700 millimeter tubes, are over here. We need those to go over to the number 3 and 4, so we'll do them first. So for 3, it's just a matter of pushing this thing in, put in the remaining position here, and I'm just going to bring that over and pop it into this position. And then we have position 1. And I'm just going to put that into this front left spot. Next, they give you this little cable harness to kind of hold all the different tubing and the cables together. The next thing is to plug the cable from the AMS Lite into the A1 printer, and that just snaps in place there. It's a polarized connector. It only goes in one way. One of the things I just noticed is that they do include a little micro SD card. That was one of my complaints when I bought my X1 carbon is that for all the money I spent on that, it did not include that. So I'm glad to see that they're adding that in there. Time to add the PEI plate. It has a textured surface and magnetic, so it just slides down in there. Now it's time to turn on the machine using the on-off switch, which is located in the back. Choose the language, select Wi-Fi. So next, let's do the vibration compensation, which takes about 5 minutes, and the motor noise cancellation, it takes about 7 minutes. So we're going to hit the start button. Okay, now it's time to load our first spool of filament. I'm using the Bambu Basic PLA red, and it just snaps in. The instructions are that the spool orientation is that the filament is coming up from the bottom here for this #1 position, and you're pushing it up into this little piece here, and you just push down this button, and it's automatically going to start feeding the filament into the tube. Here's how you load a filament using the external spool holder. Go to the LCD screen and edit the external spool parameters, including the type of filament and color. Then hit the load button. The A1 will heat up the nozzle and then purge some of the old filament. Then the printer will cut the old filament and pull it back out of the hot end. Then you need to manually feed or push the new filament from the external spool holder until the filament enters into the hot end. The extruder will grab the new filament and finish purging out the old filament, and you should see the new filament coming out of the nozzle. When you're done, the LCD screen should look like this. I would like to thank PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. If you are working on any prototype projects, they can help you when you need a variety of parts. Besides making PCBs, they also offer CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, injection molding, and lots of different types of 3D printing, including metal printing. I originally 3D printed this part out of ABS plastic. However, I wanted a metal version that would be more wear resistant, so I had PCBWay 3D print the part out of stainless steel. I went on their website, uploaded my design, selected the material and quantity, and got an instant quote. Then, they manufactured the parts within 9 days and shipped them right to my door. Give them a try, and I think you will be amazed at what they can do for you. Check out PCBWay using the link below. Well, even though Bambu still states on their website that one of their goals when they started their company was no more bed slingers, they have obviously had second thoughts on that goal, because last month they launched the A1 Mini, which is a cantilever bed slinger. In my opinion, I think they saw the success of their Core XY, X1 Carbon, and later their P1P and P1S models that are in the $600 to $1,200 range, but they concluded they were missing an opportunity for a larger market share in the entry-level 3D printing market, so that's why they launched the $299 A1 Mini bed slinger. Unfortunately, during their first 2 pre-order rounds, they are only offering their A1 Mini with their AMS Lite, which is their automated material system. Their AMS Lite combo allows 4-color automated printing for a total cost of $459. It's very clear who they are going after, because the Prusa Mini currently costs $459 without the multicolor print option, and it's the identical build volume of 180mm by 180mm by 180mm. It's also intriguing that the Prusa launched their input shaping feature to their Prusa Mini the day before Bambulab's A1 Mini launch. So, who is the A1 Mini made for? I think that once they start making the A1 Mini available by itself for the $299, this is going to open up the 3D printing to a much larger market than ever before. It's so easy to set up, it only takes like 20 minutes. And when combined with their new model software, Maker World, that's similar to Prusa's printables, it's a one-button click to print parts directly to your printer without even having to slice the model. because the model is sliced in the Maker World software. I could see the A1 in more homes and schools with families that don't need to have the technical skills that are currently needed for many 3D printers today. So let's look at the features of the A1 Mini. The A1 Mini's build volume is 180 millimeters in the X, Y, and Z direction compared to the P1 or X1 series printers, which have a 256 millimeter in the XYZ direction. So the A1 only has 35% of the overall print volume as the P1P or X1 printers. It's a cantilevered bed slinger, which means it only has one side of the Z-axis supported, and it's a bed slinger because the bed is moving in the Y-axis, so the head moves in the X-axis and Z-axis. The Z-axis uses a 15 millimeter linear rail, and the X-axis uses a 12 millimeter linear rail, and the Y-axis uses a 35 millimeter glide. The A1 has a maximum hot end temperature of 300 degrees C and a maximum build plate temperature of 80 degrees C. Because it's an open frame design and the maximum build plate temperature is only 80 degrees C, it can only print PLA, PETG, TPU, and PVA. It can't print the higher temperature materials such as ABS, ASA, nylon, etc. It has a maximum speed of 500 millimeters per second and a maximum acceleration of 10,000 millimeters per second squared. It is a fast 3D printer, and it can produce a benchy in approximately 14 minutes. It has a number of sensors on the printer. It has input shaping and a new motor noise cancellation feature. The A1 has auto Z offset and bed leveling. It has a filament runout sensor, a filament odometer, a filament tangle sensor, and they have a flow rate compensation by using a sensor inside the nozzle to measure pressure. For the hot end, they have a quick change nozzle that comes in 0.2 millimeters, 0.4, 0.6, or 0.8 millimeter diameters. You just need to remove the rubber boot and unclip the nozzle without disconnecting any wires. Then it's just a matter of swapping out the nozzle with another nozzle and clipping it back in and adding the rubber boot back. It has a powerful cooling fan in the tool head. In fact, the motors are relatively quiet. However, the cooling fan sometimes sounds like a jet engine, and so that is definitely the noisiest part of the printer. For the camera, they have a low frame rate 1080 pixel camera to monitor the job, and it can capture time-lapse shots by parking the head after each layer. Although the time-lapse videos are okay, it's very distracting to watch the low frame rate video when you are trying to remotely monitor your prints. It kind of reminds me of Elaine on Seinfeld. When Elaine does this herky-jerky dance moves, it's really painful to watch. For this reason, I just use a separate Beagle webcam to monitor my prints remotely. Another drawback of the camera is that it doesn't have spaghetti detection, so your printer is going to keep printing even when your print has failed. A1 has a nice 2.4-inch LCD touchscreen, which is much better than the screen on the P1 series of printers. Regarding poop, the waste filament or poop gets flung everywhere, and because it's a bed slinger, the Z height of the poop slinger varies, so a large chute is really needed to catch all the pieces. And these small pieces could be choking hazards for small children or pets. You can send model files using Bambulab's cloud-based Bambu slicer, or you can use LAN. You can also monitor your prints via their phone app, Bambu Handy. The printer includes a micro SD card to transfer files if you don't want to use the cloud. Plus it records the time lapses on the card. Bambulab recently launched their 3D model repository, which is very similar to Prusa's printables, called MakerWorld. MakerWorld allows you to choose a design and with one button send it to your printer without even slicing the file because the files are already pre-sliced. It's never been easier to 3D print parts. Now let's talk about the AMS Lite. The AMS Lite allows you to print multicolor prints with a maximum of 4 colors. The benefits of the AMS Lite versus the original AMS is that more manufacturers' spools fit on the AMS Lite because it uses the center hole of the spool instead of the outer edge of the spool. This means you can easily use cardboard spools with the AMS Lite. Just like with the AMS, if you are using the Bambulab filaments, they have an RFID tag in the spool that the AMS Lite recognizes and then automatically uploads the information in the software. All four colors are connected to the top of the extruder, so it's much faster to change colors versus the original AMS unit because each filament would have to rewind all the way back into AMS before another color could be introduced. As in all single extruders, multicolor prints generate a lot of waste filament, and it takes a lot longer to print the same part with multicolors. This Panda example took over 9 hours, and it generated this much waste. I like using the AMS and AMS Lite more by having multiple spools loaded so that I can easily remotely print single color parts without having to manually load the filament into the extruder. Only one AMS Lite can connect to the A1, and it can't connect to the X1C, P1P, or P1S. Also, the AMS doesn't connect to the A1. Can we talk about the elephant in the room? That is the physical footprint of the A1 and the AMS Lite. The physical footprint of just the A1 is 15 inches wide by 21 inches deep by 17 inches high. When you include the AMS Lite, the overall footprint balloons to 25 inches wide by 21 inches deep by 18 inches high. The X1 carbon footprint, by comparison, is 15 inches wide by 21 inches deep by 28 inches high. So it takes up 40% less footprint, but has a 65% larger print volume. Of course, my first print needed to be a benchy using PLA. This benchy came out excellent and in similar quality to my X1 carbon. Next, I tried this multicolor benchy, which also came out great. Then I printed this multicolor panda bear in PLA. This thing took over 9 hours and created a lot of waste. This is why I don't like to make multicolor prints, because it takes so much longer and it creates so much waste. I printed this face in Sparkle PLA using a 0.12 millimeter layer height, and it turned out beautifully. It's very hard to even see the layer line. It did have a few small defects on the rim. Overall, the quality compared to the X1 carbon was really excellent. I printed this torture toaster from Clockworks, and overall it printed very well. There was a defect in the one arm of the toaster, so only one slice is able to move up and down. The tolerance gaps allowed me to move parts with a 0.4 or 0.5 millimeter spacing, but I couldn't move the tabs at less than 0.4 millimeters. I printed this geometric shape from PETG, which turned out overall pretty good, but it did have a few defects. I also printed these pads from TPU using the external spool holder. There was some mild stringing between the parts, but overall they turned out okay. Each printer comes with a surprise project, so one of the following is included: a small lamp, a computer mouse, a marble run, or a model engine. My printer came with the lamp kit, so I printed two versions of the lamp by simply scanning the QR code on the box, choosing the design, and clicking it to send it to my printer. Both versions turned out flawlessly, and I liked the kit so much that I bought the other kits from Bambu. Here's the print for the computer mouse. It only takes a few minutes to assemble the mouse, and it works great. What I like about the kits is they show you the capabilities of 3D printing, and that there is so much more to it than just printing little tchotchkes and little toys. So now let's talk about the pros and the cons of the A1 Mini and AMS Lite. First, the pros. It prints fast and it makes really high quality prints. It's a beginner friendly printer, and you don't need 3D printing experience to easily set it up right out of the box within 20 minutes. The touchscreen is an improvement over the screens of the P1P and P1S printers. The easy swap nozzle is a great feature. It can work in LAN mode if you don't want to use the cloud. Bambu Slicer is very user-friendly, and since it's based on the Prusa Slicer, there are many common commands between them. With the new MakerWorld model sharing, you can download pre-sliced models directly to your printer, so you have a one-touch printing. I found the filament tangle sensor works well because there were several times when the printer paused the print due to a filament getting stuck, and I was able to correct it and continue my print. Now the cons. The slow frame rate camera is very distracting and really hard to watch, so I would like to see an improvement to that camera. Also, due to the camera, there is no spaghetti detection, so the print will keep on printing even if the print gets dislodged from the build plate. Also, multicolor models waste a lot of filament, which is true for all single high-end printers, including this one. There is no provision for capturing all the filament waste or poop that is flung across the table. And at this time, you can't buy the A1 Mini by itself, so you need to buy the AMS Lite combo for $549. The motors may be fairly quiet, but the fan is fairly noisy. Because it's an open-style printer, and the build plate maximum temperature is only 80 degrees C, it limits the types of plastic you can print to only PLA, PETG, TPU, and PVA. The physical footprint is very large, especially for the small print volume of the printer when you include the AMS Lite. Overall, I would have preferred Bambu to have created a small Core XY enclosed printer with a cleaner design versus the AMS Lite that rather what looks like a lab experiment gone wrong. My next video will be my top 10 Bambu A1 Mini upgrades, and when that's ready, that link will be here. In the meantime, you may want to watch my top 10 Bambu upgrades for the X1 Carbon P1 series of printers, and that link is here. Thanks for watching. Bye!